If Liam had ever been told that he would owe his chance to meet a beautiful woman to a car, he wouldn't be the least bit surprised. The man was fond of cars from an early age and knew almost everything about them. Over time, Liam's childhood passion grew into something bigger, allowing himself to become a qualified car mechanic, whose services were in high demand with at least a third of the residents in the city. Of course, the man didn't have an expensive car. He had to make do with an old Ford he inherited from his late father. Other drivers often made fun of Liam for his nondescript sedan, but the man didn't care and was happy with what he had. The young car mechanic didn't worry about the appearance of his car because he knew to appreciate what was hidden under its hood. It was for this reason that the engine of Liam's Ford always worked perfectly well and started with half of a turn of the key. On that memorable day, the man finished his shift at the car service, got into his car, and headed home. Liam lived in the suburbs, and every day he had to take the same deserted road to work, which went by the forest. The man had about a mile to go when he saw a huge SUV standing on the side of the road with its hazards lights on. A pretty young woman was standing next to it. Sadness and despair seemed to have been frozen in her eyes. Liam immediately stopped and got out of the car. He approached the woman. "Can I help you?" The woman lowered her eyes in embarrassment and immediately answered, "Yes, please. My car broke down and my phone died." Liam nodded understandingly and immediately opened the car hood to start looking for the problem. It took the young mechanic only about 10 minutes to figure out what was wrong. "That's it. This is much better. Now try starting your car, miss," Liam said with a smile. The woman obediently turned the key in the ignition. As if by magic, the SUV's engine made a loud noise and started with the half turn of a key. "Oh, thank you. You're a lifesaver," the woman exclaimed with delight. As it turned out a little later, the stranger's name was Samantha Edwards. She was the daughter of the oil man Howard Edwards, whose fortune was estimated at 7 figures. Upon learning who she was, Liam shied away noticeably, while the woman, on the contrary, seemed completely unfazed and was openly flirting with him. The young people talked for a few more minutes, after which they exchanged phone numbers and went about their business. They didn't know it yet, but that incident on the road would mark the beginning of their relationship, which would develop very quickly. It started off with some phone calls and a couple of sweet texts in the morning, then turned into infrequent dates and walks in the park. Liam was rather happy with the kind of relationship they had, but Samantha was used to living a rich and luxurious life, and so she had a different take on the situation. The woman loved big gestures and expensive gifts, which the poor auto mechanic simply couldn't afford. Moreover, Samantha always shared all the details of her personal life with her best friends, Sarah and Darcy. They were all part of the same social circle, where it was customary to arrange all sorts of tests and trials for their boyfriends. And now, having met up, the three women were cheerfully discussing what kind of unusual tests they would arrange for Liam. "You should invite him out to dinner, to the best restaurant in the city, and order a lot to make sure the check is impressive. Then you'll see what the mechanic can afford." Darcy was the first one to come up with an idea. Samantha's eyes immediately sparkled with excitement, which made it obvious that she liked her friend's idea. "That's definitely not a bad idea," Samantha thought, biting her lips. She called Liam up later that day and told him that she wanted to go to a restaurant. After learning what restaurant Samantha had chosen for their date, the man got visibly upset. Liam knew that it was unlikely that he could scrape up more than $200 to spend at the restaurant, but he also couldn't say no to Samantha. Therefore, the man decided to trust his instinct. He put on the best clothes he had and went on his date. Samantha was already at the restaurant. She briefly skimmed through the menu and made mental notes of the expensive dishes. Meanwhile, Sarah and Darcy sat at the opposite table to get the best view of Samantha's table. The restaurant clearly deserved its title of the best restaurant in the city, and there were many reasons for it. The well-trained waiters, live music, and well-dressed doormen at the entrance immersed the customers in a magical atmosphere of never-ending festivities. Having entered the restaurant, Liam couldn't help but feel like a poor man who accidentally found himself at the royal ball. And only the sight of Samantha encouraged him and pushed him to be more decisive. Liam took the menu and quickly chose one of the cheapest items he could find, and then proceeded to wait for Samantha to make her choice. Hiding a smile in the corner of her lips, the woman made her order, which cost as much as Liam got paid for a week of hard work at the car service. Seeing how pale Samantha's boyfriend got, Sarah and Darcy burst out laughing, which infuriated the young waitress who took the couple's order. The young woman immediately understood what was going on and felt sincerely sorry for Liam, who didn't even realize that he was being bullied by 3 spoiled rich girlfriends. "So, how do you like your food? Do you think it deserves the 5-star rating?" Samantha asked, as if nothing had happened. "Sure, it tastes great," Liam said. He'd never tasted anything as delicious in his life. Samantha took a little more time to finish her food, and then moved on to the final part of her plan. Excusing herself to go to the ladies' room, she asked the waitress for the check and left the table with her head held high. Liam picked up the check and couldn't believe his eyes. For the poor mechanic, the amount he had to pay for the dinner was simply astronomical. Looking up at the waitress, Liam was surprised to see understanding and sympathy in her eyes. "Your companion intentionally put up this show in order to laugh with her friends. They're sitting over there, see, at the opposite table," the woman added. It was only now that Liam realized that he was the victim of a very unpleasant prank, which was aimed at only one thing: to humiliate him. The young man knew that he simply didn't have the money to cover the check, so he got up from the table and went on stage. Liam took the microphone and addressed everyone. "Good evening to everyone who decided to have dinner at this wonderful restaurant. Unfortunately, it so happened that I don't have enough money to pay for my date's order, but I'm not asking for money. Instead, I'd like to sing for you." The other customers perked up noticeably at his words, and some even attempted to clap for the man. Liam coughed and, having overcome his natural timidity, started singing. The atmosphere of the restaurant changed right away. Liam's voice turned out to be so beautiful that some clients didn't even believe that it was actually Liam who was singing. The young man didn't have a music education, but his singing was so sincere and soulful that it couldn't leave anyone indifferent. Having finished singing one song, Liam immediately started another one, causing a storm of applause from the guests and the restaurant staff. In gratitude for the wonderful singing, the other visitors didn't just take care of Liam's bill, but also gave him extra money, trying to make him feel less humiliated. When Samantha came back from the restroom, she couldn't believe her eyes. The woman expected to see anything but that. The table was literally covered with money, and her boyfriend was up on the stage singing his heart out. The most surprising part was that Darcy and Sarah seemed to be enchanted with Liam's performance, as everyone else was. So much so that they didn't even notice that Samantha had returned to the table. "What's happening?" the woman whispered, feeling annoyed. But her question remained unanswered because everyone's attention was directed at Liam's beautiful performance. Pursing her lips resentfully, Samantha took her things and hurried to leave the restaurant under the condemning look of other visitors. Liam sang 3 more songs, after which he received another storm of applause and left the stage. None of the restaurant guests could have even guessed that the man had no professional training. Wanting to express his admiration for the talent of the self-taught singer, the director of the restaurant personally shook his hand and said, "Today's revenue broke all records of our restaurant. I've been working in the restaurant business for many years, so I know what I'm talking about. Maybe you'd be willing to sing for us every evening, or at least a couple of nights a week." Liam smiled, but was forced to turn down the offer of the prominent restaurateur, explaining that he was just an ordinary auto mechanic, not a singer. Liam left all the money he got for his singing at the restaurant. It was his way of saying thank you for the delicious dinner and the opportunity to make his dream of trying to sing on stage come true. Liam glanced at Sarah and Darcy, shook his head in disapproval, and headed for the exit. He knew that his relationship with Samantha would never be the same again. Although Liam wasn't really sure that he even wanted to have a relationship with the spoiled woman anymore. Having stepped out of the restaurant, the young man took a deep breath, not even realizing that he was being watched by the same waitress who'd warned him about the unpleasant situation he was in. Samantha spent about a week in the dark, after which she decided to be the first one to reach out to Liam. Imagine the woman's surprise when she saw Liam with the young waitress, whose name turned out to be Goldie. The young people looked happy as they walked towards Liam's old Ford, smiling. Seeing the young mechanic, Samantha realized that she'd made a huge mistake, and now she was left with nothing, and she was the only one to blame for it. While Samantha was being immature and inconsiderate, trying to please her obnoxious girlfriends, Liam was actually sincere, hoping for a future together. But after the situation at the restaurant, something seemed to have broken in the man's heart, and any of the feelings he had for Samantha simply disappeared. Meanwhile, Goldie surrounded Liam with attention and care from the first days of their relationship, which was what the young man had dreamed of all of his life. Maybe it was love at first sight, or maybe it was Cupid who hit the hearts of the young lovers with his magic arrows. Whatever it was, all we can do now is be happy for Goldie and Liam, who found each other despite all the obstacles and are planning on staying together for the rest of their lives.